Ladies and gentlemen, I'm convinced that the next stock market crash is going to wipe out a lot of investors. And there's a reason why I say that. And let's watch on, shall we? So, the title of my talk today is Many Are Going to Be Wiped Out by the Next Crash. And this is a special warning to those who disrespect the terror of stock market crashes. And what should we do about it? Well, my advice will be at the end of the video. Let's watch on. So, I just realized that there is a large group of investors now enjoying the fruits of a stock market bull run, and they seems invincible. Everything is going up. Stock market is going up. The STI is going up. Gold is going up. Silver is going up. Bitcoin arguably came down but came back again. And so many things are going up. And a lot of people are kind of disrespecting the possibility and the terror of a stock market crash, knowing that it could be coming. I think a lot of people are convinced that it could be coming. But I think there's a lot of confidence, right? A lot of people say, no, I think I can handle it when it comes. Wow, good, come, that can fire and things like that. And I think that there's a lot of complacency and disrespecting the terror of stock market crashes. And today I want to talk about it. Let me just say this. A lot of people think that, when the stock market crash, I would start firing and things like that. But I'll just say this, when the stock market comes to a halt and then finally a crash, things would have been very different and changed, right? Portfolio values will be vaporized, the economic situation is different, and fear will come out in a frightening way. Let me just share with you this thing. Crashes, it's a result and rarely a cause. That means that stock market crash did not happen because stock market crash. Stock market crash because something else happened in the geopolitical space or the economic world or so on. So they don't crash just randomly, and they crash because something in the environment has changed and caused it to crash. And it could be financial institution breaking up. It could be trade war. It could be issues in economy whatsoever. So crashes are not the result, because a lot of us can handle crashes because we think that crashes is okay. It comes up and down, it's just a number. No, because the first thing that hit us is not the stock market crash. It is the environment that's going to kill us. So most stock market crash comes with a double whammy. So externally in the macro environment, usually job security just vaporize suddenly, and maybe business income, your company may suddenly go into huge losses, banking confidence just suddenly erode, and there could be some health crisis or geopolitical fear of some form. So these are the triggers, and this one will come and hit you really very hard, and suddenly you get a job. And suddenly, the second thing happened. The stock market have a crash. Your savings, your portfolio, your wonderful profits start to vaporize. And what took 3 or 4 years to come up, or 5 years or 10 years to come up, vaporizes within a month or two. Okay. And you start to panic, right? So because you are now hit on both sides. Usually, if it's just stock market volatility, it's okay. But no, because you now have the fear of the external environment. What if my company retrench me? What if, I've got no more jobs moving forward? What if suddenly my business need a lot of cash and go into trouble? What if, I don't even have a chance to live on? Whatever it is, all this comes and hit you on both sides. So usually every crash will have this feeling that it's a once in a lifetime or once in a blue moon. Well, you think about all the crashes, 2008 global financial crisis, well, it looks frightening. All the banks were collapsing in a massive way. And 2020 is even worse. Okay, 2020 in the worst in the form that it's a fear that you may not have a chance to live. Right? It's COVID crash, right? And what's the next crash gonna come? We don't know. Usually, a stock market crash is because it's caused by an unanticipated shock. So therefore, it is very difficult to predict. And for that matter, I think it's safe to assume that we can't predict a crash. So let's take a look at the 2020 COVID crash. When COVID happens, the world economic activity, physical activity, all came to a standstill. it's not so much a valuation problem. It's a economic shutdown. Jobs potentially could be lost in the millions. There were worry that we don't even know whether we'll get hit by the virus. There is real fear of existential risk. And don't forget, after the COVID is over, I think close to 15 million people actually died. So it is quite a serious matter. And you will feel double whammy, right? You don't just look at stock market crash. That, in fact, is a secondary fear. The first fear is the big fear of the virus and the economic standstill, right? So when both hit you, wow, okay? So a lot of people will tend to sell in panic. 2008 global financial crisis, wow, banks were collapsing in a massive way, credit freeze, jobs were lost in a big way, and Singapore actually respond in a very big way by job credit scheme. And I think at that point of time, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong actually prepared $150 billion from taken from the national reserves to defend the trust and the integrity of our financial system. That was how big the problem is. So when you see a 2008 financial crisis hit, okay, of course the stock market crashed by 50 over percent. It was frightening, but it's a double whammy. It's fear from both sides, from the economic world and the financial world all hitting you. Most people will panic, okay? If you disrespect the possibility of you frighteningly collapsing, okay, then you are potentially, going to get hit in a very bad way. So I think quite a lot of investors overestimate our courage, okay? And when time comes, they say, don't worry, I'll buy the dip. Don't worry, I very long-term focus. Whatever it is, this volatility, I will just ride it through. So easy, ah. So the truth is, when all this stock market crash comes, okay, most of the people will chicken out and bail out and suffer losses in a massive way. So it goes back to my point, right? You must prepare for a crash during the best of times, which is now, okay, which is now. So when you still have a job, when the bonuses are still coming in, when things are your portfolio is doing strong, everything looks rosy, it's a time where you got to be prepared. Now, I don't know when the crash will come, but I do know the best time to prepare is when times are good. Now, how much should we be prepared? Well, there's no right or wrong to this. How much cash you prepare? How much dry powder you should be prepared? Well, just take a chapter from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett actually kept about 1/3 of his portfolio in cash right now, cash or cash equivalent. That's a sum of $400 billion. Now, he must be one of the strongest, most capable investors of the world. And, if he would basically have the ability to ride through all sorts of crises, although he retired right now. But why does he keep 1/3 of his asset in cash? Because there is a chance that when the stock market crash comes, he's ready, and we all want to be ready. And he respects stock market volatility. The way to fight the terror of stock market crash is to be ready. There's no other way. So therefore, this is a time where I encourage everybody build your dry powder. And dry powder is not wait until the crisis comes, then you start looking for it. So they don't magically appear during crashes. They are accumulated in good times through discipline. So this is where I've been encouraging everybody, in good times, we must consider doing rebalancing. I taught everybody what is rebalancing. And also, it's a time to basically look at your entire portfolio to make sure you are bulletproof. Now, many of us are sitting on big profits right now. I am sitting on big profits right now, and I actively do rebalancing. Now, I did not say, okay, go sell it all, prepare for a crash. Maybe this bull run can continue for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I don't know. Okay. Or maybe even 3 months, 6 months, 3 weeks. I don't know what the timeline would be. But I do know that if I'm overweighted on equities and I've got big positions of overweightedness, okay, I might just want to adjust it down so that my bonds and equities portfolio are more in balance according to my age profile. And I think this is the right wise thing to do. And economic theory actually goes to encourage that as well. So this is where I want to bring forward a very powerful stability principle by Li Ka-shing. He says this in Cantonese, but I'm going to translate it in English. In stability, always look for growth, and in growth, always look for stability. This is somewhat a similar but a flavor different from Warren Buffett's in fear. In times of fear, you should be greedy, and in times of greed, you should be fearful. Well, let's talk about Li Ka-shing this. In times of growth, like right now, we want to anchor our financial assets, our businesses, and our health, our family, all in stability. And therefore we want to make sure all the things that we have forms a firm foundation. This is why I always say that for most Singaporeans, even for Malaysians, right, so your CPF forms a firm foundation, right? You can really do really very well just relying on your CPF as a firm foundation for your retirement. You can easily make, a very strong retirement income. I always teach my coursemate in this. In stability, in times where there's stability, when you look for growth. So this is where I just want to remind everybody, do not disrespect volatility. Do not disrespect the fear and the terror it could bring. Don't overestimate how courageous you can be. I don't know when a crash will come. I think it will come in times of unexpectedness, and this is where I urge everybody. Okay, this is a time of growth. Please make sure you form a stable safety net to get ready when times are uncertain. Okay, thank you everybody, and I'll see you in my live stream tonight. Bye bye.